Have we been scouting pass rushers completely wrong this entire time? Every single year at the NFL Combine, millions of fans hear the exact same phrases repeated over and over again. He needs longer arms. He's too small. He doesn't have elite bend. He's not explosive enough. But what if I told you some of the best pass rushers in football never had perfect measurements in the first place? What if the biggest secret to dominating NFL tackles has almost nothing to do with combine hype? Because after diving deep into years of NFL production, one truth keeps showing up again and again: power beats pretty. And today, we're breaking down why some athletic freaks fail in the NFL while technically sound. Powerful defenders become nightmares for quarterbacks every single Sunday. If you love real football analysis, trench warfare, and NFL draft breakdowns that go beyond the surface, hit that subscribe button right now, because this channel is built for football fans who actually want to understand the game. Now let's talk about the biggest misconception in modern football scouting. For years, fans and analysts have obsessed over arm length when evaluating edge rushers. Every draft season, the conversation sounds the same: if a defender doesn't have 34-inch arms, people immediately start questioning whether he can succeed in the NFL. And look, longer arms absolutely help. Nobody is denying that. Long arms allow defenders to strike first, create separation, and control blockers more effectively. But somewhere along the way, people started acting like arm length alone determines greatness. That simply is not true. When you study many of the NFL's most productive pass rushers over the last decade, you notice something interesting. A lot of them didn't have elite measurements at all. They weren't built in a laboratory. They weren't combined superheroes. What they did have was functional strength, technique, leverage, and the ability to generate power against offensive tackles. And that matters far more than people realize, because football in the trenches has always been a power game. You can run a blazing 40-yard dash, you can dominate cone drills, you can post incredible testing numbers, but when the ball is snapped on Sunday, none of that matters if you cannot move another human being backward. That is the reality of NFL football. Professional offensive tackles are massive. These guys are not just big. They are elite athletes too. They are fast, disciplined, technically polished, and incredibly difficult to beat consistently. That's why pure speed rushers often struggle in the NFL. In college football, an explosive athlete can survive simply by outrunning weaker tackles around the edge. But in the NFL, tackles adjust quickly. If they know speed is your only weapon, they will sit on it all game long. They'll widen their stance. They'll force you deeper around the pocket. They'll stay patient. And eventually, you become predictable. That is where power changes everything. The moment a pass rusher proves he can collapse the pocket through your chest, the entire matchup changes psychologically. Now the tackle starts worrying about getting driven backward. Now he starts bracing for contact. Now his balance changes. Now he hesitates. And hesitation in the NFL is deadly. Suddenly, speed moves become more effective because the blocker fears power. Counter moves work because the tackle is no longer comfortable. Everything opens up once the offensive lineman realizes he cannot simply absorb the rush safely. That is why the best pass rushers almost always possess functional power, not bodybuilding strength, not weight room strength, football strength. There's a huge difference. Football strength is about balance, leverage, timing, hand placement, and force generation under pressure. Some players look incredible lifting weights but struggle to transfer that power onto the field. Others may not look like workout warriors, yet they consistently walk offensive linemen backward every Sunday. Why technique ... And this is where football becomes far more technical than casual fans realize. The best edge rushers are masters of biomechanics. Everything starts with the stance. Great pass rushers waste almost no movement coming off the ball. Their first step is explosive. Their hips stay low, their feet stay balanced, their hands are prepared before contact even happens. Every detail matters. Let's use an example. Imagine a defender attacking outside first. He threatens speed off the edge, forcing the tackle to turn his shoulders slightly toward the sideline. That tiny movement is critical because once the blocker loses square positioning, his base weakens. Now the defender converts speed into power, boom, directly into the chest. Suddenly the tackle is off balance and getting driven backward into the quarterback. To casual viewers, it just looks like a bull rush. But the reality is much deeper. The entire rep was set up through footwork, angles, leverage, and timing. That's real pass rushing, and honestly, this is why so many combined stars disappoint once they reach the NFL. Every year, there are prospects who test like superheroes. Fans fall in love instantly. Social media explodes with clips of vertical jumps and 40-yard dashes. But football is not a track meet. Paths change everything. Contact changes everything. Leverage changes everything. And some players simply do not know how to translate raw athleticism into functional football skill. Meanwhile, other prospects quietly dominate because they understand the details of the position. They know how to use their hands, they understand leverage, they play with violence and discipline. Those players often last much longer in the league. And if you're enjoying this breakdown so far, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we're going way deeper than mainstream sports television ever does. Now here's another truth NFL fans don't always want to hear. Size still matters. There's a reason. Many elite edge rushers weigh around 260 pounds. Football has weight classes, whether people admit it or not. Bigger athletes who can move explosively create enormous problems for offenses. That doesn't mean smaller defenders can succeed. Of course they can, but if you are undersized, your technique must be nearly perfect because NFL tackles are simply too strong and too skilled. Otherwise, the league eventually exposes one-dimensional players. If all you have is speed, offensive coordinators will figure you out. If all you have is finesse, powerful tackles will overwhelm you. Complete pass rushers survive because they force offenses to respect multiple threats at once. That's what separates stars from role players, and honestly, this conversation connects to something much bigger happening in football right now: player development. The nil era has completely changed how college athletes prepare for the NFL. A few years ago, many prospects rushed into the draft as quickly as possible because they needed financial security. But now college players can make serious money before ever reaching the NFL, and that changes everything. Players can now invest heavily into themselves while still in school. They can hire private trainers, nutritionists, recovery specialists, position coaches. They can train like professionals before officially becoming professionals. That development matters. Modern college football players are entering the NFL more polished than ever before. Many older prospects already understand recovery, discipline, film study, and body maintenance at a professional level. And honestly, NFL teams are starting to value that maturity more than they used to. For years, older rookies were viewed negatively. Teams worried about long-term upside. They preferred younger players with theoretical potential. But today's NFL moves too fast for long-term dreams. Sometimes general managers and coaches need results immediately. Windows close overnight in this league. One bad season can cost people their jobs, so teams increasingly value players who can contribute right now. And older prospects often offer that. They may not have the same long-term projection as a 21-year-old rookie, but they frequently arrive more prepared physically and mentally. That reliability matters because at the end of the day, coaches trust players who know how to prepare like professionals, and preparation is what separates good players from great ones. Talent alone is never enough in the NFL. There are thousands of talented athletes across football. What separates elite players is discipline, refinement, consistency, and technical mastery. That's true for pass rushers especially. Anybody can look explosive during drills. Anybody can post highlight clips against weaker competition. But can you beat an NFL tackle in the fourth quarter? When everyone in the stadium knows it's a passing situation, can you still generate pressure after taking punches for 3 straight quarters? Can you stay technically sound when exhausted? Can you counter once your first move fails? That's real NFL football. And the best edge defenders understand that pass rushing is not random chaos. It's calculated. Violence, it's strategy mixed with physicality. Every movement has purpose. The stance matters. The hand placement matters. The leverage matters. The timing matters. Everything matters. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all here. Football is not won by the prettiest measurements. It's won by players who know how to apply their traits effectively. Function matters more than form every single year. Fans become obsessed with combined numbers because numbers feel safe. They feel objective, but football has always been more complicated than spreadsheets. Some players dominate because they understand how to play. Simple as that. And those are usually the players still making plays 5, 6, 7 years later while former combine stars slowly disappear from the league. That's why the NFL draft remains so difficult. Teams are not just scouting athletes, they are scouting football players, and there is a massive difference between the two. If you've made it this far in the video, drop a comment below and tell me this. Would you rather draft the elite athlete with raw upside, or the technically polished player who's ready right now? I genuinely want to hear your answer because NFL teams battle with that exact question every single year, and honestly, there may never be a perfect answer, but one thing continues. Showing up over and over again across NFL history, power survives, technique survives, discipline survives, because when the game slows down, when the hype disappears, and when the lights get brightest, the players who consistently win are usually the ones who mastered the fundamentals first. Not just the measurements, not just the testing numbers, not just the hype, real football skill. And if a player manages to combine elite physical talent with refined technique and true functional power, that's when you create a superstar. That's when offenses start game planning around one defender. That's when quarterbacks stop feeling comfortable in the pocket. That's when great defenses are built. And that is why the art of pass rushing remains one of the most fascinating parts of football. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and stick around for more deep NFL analysis coming very soon.